This is Newsroom. Hello and welcome from Johannesburg here in South Africa. I'm Evan Jensen. The show is live. It's broadcast from our studios here in Auckland Park. We're also streaming live on YouTube right now with our entire show available on demand on our YouTube channel. Now, on the show today, the city of Tshwane is talking tough to all rates defaulters in the city. Are owls the solution to the rat problem that Johannesburg is facing? Some people don't think so. We're joined by the suppliers of owls to the city today. Racism continues to plague South Africa. We talk to the Human Rights Commission about the latest incidents, and we get an update from the Farlam Commission, whereafter Tsietsi Monare tells us about the electricity conundrum facing all of us here in South Africa. But first, let's get the news from Katrine Milan.
Well, hello and welcome to Newsroom. I'm Katrine Milan, and let's take a look at those top stories this morning. There is a strong police presence at the Boksburg Magistrates Court this morning ahead of the appearance of the man arrested in connection with the murder of Bafana captain Senzo Mniwa. 25-year-old Zanukuhle Mbata will make his second appearance since he was arrested late last month. He was arrested within a week after Mniwa was shot and killed during a botched robbery in Vosloorus east of Johannesburg over 2 weeks ago. Police are still looking for a second suspect. COSATU will today announce whether it will reconsider the expulsion of its largest affiliate trade union, NUMSA. COSATU expelled NUMSA at the weekend, citing, among others, its refusal to support the ANC at the May general elections. The ANC described this move as tragic, indicating that it will continue to mediate with the aim of avoiding a split. On the other hand, 7 affiliates who support NUMSA have temporarily withdrawn from participating in executive structures of the federation and has also vowed to stop at nothing to ensure that a NUMSA's expulsion is reversed.
All of the unions represented here at this press conference are not prepared to see NUMSA being treated this way. For they know that they will find themselves attacked despite the fact that they too have played a meaningful role in building and maintaining our federation over the years.
We think that COSATU now is being affected by an Ebola in the name of STUM. STUM is the Ebola of COSATU. That we must say. We must say that we must protect COSATU against that Ebola.
Lawyers for families of non-striking miners who were killed during an unprotected strike in Marikana in 2012 will continue to submit their closing arguments at the Farlam Commission of Inquiry today. The Commission is investigating the deaths of 44 people at Lonmin's platinum mining operations at Marikana during strike-related unrest in August 2012. The Defence Department's former Chief of Acquisitions during the 1999 multi-billion rand arms deal, Shamin Chippy Sheikh, will continue to give evidence before the Arms Procurement Commission in Pretoria today. Sheikh took to the stand yesterday to testify about his role when he was the department's manager of acquisition process. The Commission heard that he did not play any authoritative role in the acquisition program. The United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon has strongly condemned the suicide attack on a government boarding school in northeastern Nigeria's Yobe state. 48 people were killed and nearly 80 others wounded. Authorities say the death toll is expected to rise. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack in the town of Potiskum, where Boko Haram is believed to operate.
The Secretary-General calls for the perpetrators to be swiftly brought to justice through a process respectful of Nigeria's human rights obligations and for adequate security measures to be provided for the protection of civilians.
And a doctor in the United States who was diagnosed with Ebola after returning from treating patients from Guinea in West Africa has been cured. Dr. Craig Spencer became the first person in New York to be diagnosed with Ebola. Health officials say he's been declared free of the virus and will be discharged from hospital soon. Dr. Spencer's recovery means there are no more known cases of the virus in the United States. Remember, all those top stories and more are available on our Newsroom Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Katrine. The city of Tshwane says it will continue cutting off anyone whose account is in arrears for more than 30 days. The municipality has embarked on drastic steps to disconnect power to various entities. Government departments, residents, embassies and businesses owe the council more than 6 billion rand in unpaid municipal accounts. Moretele and Madibeng local municipalities purchase bulk electricity and water from the city. They also run the risk of being cut off if they do not settle more than 110 million rand they are believed to owe. The city have since softened their stance, and electricity have been restored to schools that were cut off there. Now, Tshwane City Manager Jason Ngobeni joins us in our Pretoria studio this morning. Good morning, Mr. Ngobeni. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you doing?
You've had a lot of media reporting around the decision to do the cut-offs. Just before we get into the nuts and bolts, give us an idea of the culture and the sort of picture of non-payment in your municipality.
Well, first of all, I don't think we are unique from other municipalities around the country. I think, yes, of course, there is a discerning pattern that the regular household or the regular resident would pay everyone else, you know, and put the municipal services right at the bottom of the list. And simply because they know that if you don't pay for other services such as your cell phone, your subscription, etc., those things get terminated. Now, I think it's a trend that needs to be corrected. I think it goes a long way in the partnership that us as municipalities need to have with our own residents, because the culture is just not good. I mean, we pay our services. I mean, we get for every electricity that we put through to our residents, we pay for it within a period of 14 days. We pay Eskom. I mean, you can take a bill of 1 billion rand. We pay Eskom 1 billion rand. I'm giving an example. And then we then pass on the electricity to residents. And the residents take about 8 to 10 months to pay us. And each month we need to be paying our bills within that period. So that trend is just not sustainable. And then if you counterbalance that with the fact that we have to continue to provide the basic services, make sure there's electricity in homes, water is running, traffic lights are working, roads are fixed. I mean, we got to get the money from somewhere, you know, and this kind of situation is not sustainable for any municipality. It's not just a unique situation to ourselves.
The question, though, on everyone's lips today is you're taking a rather tough stance, and it's understandable the stance that you're taking, but you're going to follow through. You are prepared to plunge the entire municipality, especially those municipalities who are not paying or behind, into darkness if they don't cough up the money.
Well, I mean, I know the question is directed to the municipalities and specifically the areas that are probably newsworthy right at the moment. But I mean, let me give you an example. We have issued about 182,000 notices to defaulters or non-payers. And this notice is very simple. It says you've got in law 14 days to correct your account, failure which we will definitely come and terminate services from your household. And this is not just normal residents, me and you, it's also businesses. I mean, to date, as I'm talking to you, we've now issued over 10,000 notices for companies that we've appointed to go and terminate. In fact, as I'm speaking now, those companies are busy terminating accounts that have been owing us not 1 month, not 2 months, not 3 months, not 4 months. I mean, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, you know, of owing. And that debt continues to grow because each time they consume, they don't get paid. Now, with the municipalities that you've referred to, we are constantly in discussions. We talk about the payments. I mean, they've given us payment plans in the past, and we've observed some of the payment plans. And clearly, I mean, there are places where they are struggling. And we can't be seen to be fair to a resident who hardly makes it, you know, when we cut their supply of electricity because they haven't honored their payments. And yet we've got others that are not honoring their payments, and there's some exclusivity in dealing with them. I think we are trying to apply the policy fairly and equitably across the board.
You've softened your stance slightly with schools in the area. Are you in discussions with the Department of Education at the moment?
Well, I mean, as I'm talking to you, the Department of Education in Gauteng has paid the amount that is due. And again, it's really the arrangements that needs to be made. And when you make an arrangement, you follow through the arrangement. We're also reasonable. This is not about punishing anyone. It's about ensuring that we've got a sustainable flow of cash and we've got a sustainable business that we are running. I mean, let me give an example. The 10,000 accounts that are going to be terminated, possibly between today and tomorrow because they owe us money. If they approach our offices and they go to, let's say, walk-in center and make a payment now, the commitment that we're making to them as a municipality is that within 4 hours of making that payment, you will be connected. So we're not out there to punish people. You've not been paying us, and then the next thing that we do is we take a day or 2 or even 3 days to reconnect back your electricity. Yeah. We simply want you to honor the commitments and your obligations because we are providing you with electricity. And for that, you need to make up for your side of things.
And other services, one would think as well, and it's a simple fact. You have to pay if you want to use these facilities. What has been the reaction then, Mr. Ngubeni, from those entities, call it entities, that you've approached? Has it been negative, or is there a silver lining in the negotiations or in the talks that you are engaging in?
Well, I think the good thing is that we're seeing a positive reaction. One of the initiatives that we embarked upon as a city was to put almost everything automated, electronically, make it easy for a resident or a business to sit at home and make a payment without having to walk into any of our centers. And we've been calling upon the public, especially our residents, that register on eTshwane. We've specifically established a portal or a platform called eTshwane. And the eTshwane platform doesn't really matter which bank you bank with, but you could bank with any bank. If you make a payment now, that payment almost reflects immediately. But again, in there, you can read your meter and upload your readings, etc. From that end, the reaction has been great. Yes, of course, we've also seen a reaction, positive reaction, to people that came forward to make payments or to make arrangements where they've been owing us, which is something perfectly normal. It did not need us to take any drastic step for anyone to make a payment on something that they know is due, or even to come forward and make an arrangement, which, by the way, they must honor, to ensure that they continue receiving the services from the city. So I think from that end, we'll be able to tell within a period of 2 or 3 months. However, this is not a once-off initiative. We are not just going around terminating services, etc. But this is the way of doing business in Tshwane, if you may call it that, that whenever you receive services, you must pay for it. And if you don't pay for it, we will send you an SMS. We won't just come and card. To date, as I'm talking to you, in the past month alone, we have sent over 600,000 SMSs and MMSs, because we're trying to move as well towards providing statements to our citizens via an MMS or an SMS, as opposed to a paper mail. The challenges that we've been facing. So we don't want to have residents saying we haven't received our account, we don't know how much to be paying you. I mean, at this stage, we're also calling upon our residents to call our call center, where they can make sure that they give us up-to-date information so that we can communicate with them.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today. That's Tshwane City Manager Jason Ngubeni telling us about the decision taken by the city to get tough on rates defaulters there. We'll keep you updated. We'll keep you in the loop on our Facebook page how that story develops. Should be an interesting 48 hours as these services are being cut in the capital. Moving on. After it was recently reported that owls released in the Alexandra township were being decapitated by members of the community, we invited the Oil Rescue Centre to talk to us about this problem. We were told people in these communities seem to be afraid of the birds that are there to fight this huge rat infestation, but that the city of Johannesburg has been working on educating communities around certain cultural myths and beliefs. Now, We are joined today by Mr. Jonathan Hall. He's the CEO of Eco Solutions, who've been providing these owls to communities like Alexandra. Very good morning to you, Mr. Hall. Thank you for joining us.
Morning.
We understand that you're the person who, or the business rather, that deals with supplying.
Eco Solutions runs the Township Owl Project, yeah.
Yeah.
So we provide owls to these schools that they release. And additionally, we provide education. It's a simple project, putting owls in schools, yeah.
Tell us about, we've seen a lot of horror stories about owls, legs being chopped off and heads being chopped off and so forth. Tell us about your reaction to what's been going on specifically with the kind of fear that people have for owls.
You know, the mythological fear of owls it's almost a cultural stereotype that we're not finding in townships. The kids involved in these projects are not rural kids who have this fear of owls landing on your roof and some mythological fear. Yeah. Those kids are interested in cell phones and iPads and tackies and Rihanna, you know? And these are the kids that we deal with. The project itself is about taking owls. Actually, a lot of the owls have come from Alex, been placed into schools, and the kids release them. So it deals with the mythological stuff, where we find it. The headmasters and the teachers are involved, and they're often pillars in their community, so they're involved in the education. In terms of the decapitations and that story, we've engaged with everyone involved, and it actually, you know, it didn't happen. There wasn't a decapitated owl. The press, a member of the press got the story, ran with this story, and didn't ask for any facts relating to this story. And at this moment in time, there haven't been any substantiation of decapitated or legs cutting off. In fact, the story, the actual correct story, was two kids in Alex who brought an injured owl into the SPCA and said they wanted to help this owl and claimed to be owl ambassadors. That's the story, that's the actual factual story about what happened here.
They say never let the facts get in the way of a good story with some of our colleagues.
It appears that this was the case in this instance.
I wanted you to have a look at a clip. We've had the Oil Rescue Centre in a week or so ago, and they're not happy with the solution of owls, specifically in townships. Before we continue the conversation, let's just have a look at what Brendan Murray had to say and see if you agree.
Barn owls are not going to control a rat plague. Barn owls do eat rats, but they cannot control a rat plague. There's no natural nesting sites for them in Alexandra.
That's a clip. Yes, so there's...
Okay.
Well, owls will not solve or control the rat infestation problem.
There's 2 points raised there. Yeah. Rats can't control the the rodent problem, and there's no nesting for owls in Alex. Yeah. What we're finding, I mean, a basic understanding of owl biology refutes the owls don't occur in Alexandra Township or any township. Barn owls, I mean, just their name, barn owls. They've had a history of relationships with humans and living in human communities from we've actually traced it 2.5 million years ago. Yeah. We had barn owls living with us. So they're very well adapted to living in urban environments. In fact, that's where we predominantly find them. They prey on rats. They're very specialized owls. Yeah. You know, a lot of owls will eat barn owls prey on rats. Alex has a very high rodent population, and that's why we find barn owls there. Yeah. Okay? And they've adapted in a way that they breed behind fascia boards. In fact, we've just recently been in Katlehong and examining abandoned buildings and old sites. We found 21 sites where barn owls are in Katlehong last night, the night before, eating rats. Nothing to do with this project. Yeah. When we look at Johannesburg from a macro perspective, we find, we don't really find barn owls too commonly in our suburban gardens because of the trees. Barn owls are found all over the world because rats are found all over the world. But we actually believe that the stronghold for barn owls are in these townships, irrespective of what Eco Solutions does or anyone else does. Yeah. I mean, the calls that we get at the office relating to barn owls all come from townships. It's a basic biology. Owls are where the rats are. Yeah. And rats are in Alex. Owls. And in fact, the owls in Alex are controlling the rats in Sandton because they're dealing with the actual source of your rodent population. And I mean, owls are related to rats in a way that is quite unique. I mean, they regulate their breeding. So if there's a rodent eruption, owls will produce, instead of 4 or 5 chicks, can produce up to 18 chicks just to deal with that explosion of rats. Okay. Okay, so owls and rats are inextricably linked.
These are the...
in terms of whether they can control the rodent population. That's the next point that's been made. They're not designed to eradicate rats.
Yeah.
Okay. It's part of an integrated pest management. And the general school of thought now is that that's how pest management needs to be addressed. Integration. So there's owls as biological controls eating rats, there's fumigation, there's waste management projects, and that's the integrated pest management approach. We've been using rat poison for 50 years, and it hasn't worked. We're now still dealing with huge rodent populations. Owls are one tool in the management of rats.
It's got to be an holistic view.
Well, that's the way we're moving.
And probably be imbalanced with the surrounds. Just quickly, there's a lack of understanding of the numbers. Some people spoke about 90,000 owls that have been released, but the numbers are much, much smaller than that, isn't it?
What was actually said was that in this project, since its inception in '98, I mean, there's footage, if you visit the Eco Solutions Urban Ecology Facebook page, you'll see footage of projects like this that started in '98. And 83,000 children have been involved in this project. Okay, the press got that mixed up, and it was 83,000 owls released, and I had bird clubs phoning me saying, "Where did you get 83,000? We didn't even know there was 83,000 owls in this country." Yeah. The reality of it is in Alex, in the last 2 years since this project started, there have been 22 owls released from 5 schools. So that's the reality of it. There's no 83,000 owls. And the schools are ideal because they're quiet at night, so it's good for owls.
Yeah.
We can lock off an area in a township that doesn't use poison. So in order for the school to participate, they can't use rodenticides or rat poison. From an educational perspective, and this has been one of my biggest concerns with all the media relating to the decapitated owl persecution, is that the press have been running with this story without any facts, but also they haven't approached any of the children. And I'm a strong believer that if you walked into any one of those schools and approached the first child you saw and said, "What is an owl?" they would say to you, "Bamba amagundwan." It catches rats.
Yeah.
And that's really what this project's about. And those are the kids and the headmasters who should actually be approached. They should be here.
And they haven't been approached, which is a sad indictment about where our industry is. But thank you for joining us today, Jonathan. It's certainly a completely different perspective from what we've been hearing and seeing at times in the media. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The CEO of Eco Solutions, Mr. Jonathan Hall, telling us all about owls and how, well, it's a mutual relationship between owls and rats, and they're not there to eat all the rats in the world, but simply to help with the management of them in the big cities. Let's have a look at what you're tweeting about, what you're talking about on Twitter this morning, at SABC Newsroom, of course, that's where we are. Let's have a look. What's up? España en Alono. Spain expresses its deepest condolences to the families of the victims of the terrorist attack against a school at Potiskum in Nigeria. Yes, the death toll now stands at 49. Can you believe that? Sarah Allison Miller says, "I can't believe there was another school attack. 48 dead. Terrorism needs to end." Shoaib Sakib says, "Devastated to hear that school children have been killed by attack in Nigeria. Time has come for peace to prevail." Yes, world peace is something we all dream about. Torben Getterman, thoughts and prayers with the school children killed or injured in the cowardly attack in Potiskum, Nigeria. Those are your tweets. Keep it coming at SABC Newsroom. That's where we live on Twitter. Let's take a look now at the front pages from around the globe. In the United States, the New York Times taking a closer look at the lives of those who've been affected by the deadly Ebola virus in West Africa, specifically in Liberia, where there's been a reported decline in cases since the crisis began there. And then in the United Kingdom, both the Daily Telegraph and the Guardian have front page pictures, but we don't have those up for you at the moment. Hopefully we'll be able to get them back a little bit later. If not, you can get all the details on our Facebook page. Now, before we go to a break, at the 11th hour, on the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, the Great War came to an end. On this day, Germany signed an armistice agreement with the Allies in a railroad car outside of France. The First World War left no less than 9 million soldiers dead and 21 million wounded, with Germany, Russia, Austria-Hungary, France and Great Britain each losing nearly 1 million or more lives In addition, at least 5 million civilians died from disease, starvation, or exposure. War indeed is no joke. You're watching Newsroom. We'll be back after a short break.
Do you think that the media has then fully unpacked of what these strikes could possibly do to the economy if it's going to that extent of a recession?
It doesn't mean that when we solve the mining strike that suddenly the GDP is going to go and increase and we're all going to go and have an economic
Very
boom.
true,
So
yes.
we've got to go and look at that fact as well.
Obviously, the media, can't touch on absolutely everything. It is a very complicated situation.
Watch Media Monitor with me, Alicia Jali, Sundays at 9 a.m. only on the SABC News channel.
Zoom into Africa. This is Malawi. The president is Professor Peter Mutharika. Malawi got independent from the United Kingdom on 6 July in 1964. The population is more than 15 million people. One of Malawi's major languages is English. Monetary unit, Malawi Kwacha.
Welcome back. This is Newsroom. The South African Human Rights Commission Council has indicated that they may have to take legal action against the owner of a building if they do not get his cooperation. The owner of the Vleis Centraal office block in Louis Trichardt has been accused of running segregated toilets there. Commission investigators visited the area and found that toilets have been allocated according to race groups. The Human Rights Commission may approach the Equality Court if the situation does not change. Now, for the latest on this racial segregation in Polokwane, we are joined by from the South African Human Rights Commission by the Head of Communications, Mr. Isaac Mangena. Good morning, Mr. Mangena. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Evan. Thanks for having me.
Just give us a quick overview about where you are with this specific case regarding the segregated toilets in Louis Trichardt.
As you rightfully pointed out, we visited the area last week, Wednesday and Thursday, and we interacted with the tenants of the building and also the caretaker at that building. So what is currently going to be happening is that as part of our investigation, we've launched an investigation into this matter because the issue of race is one of those that we really have to deal with as a country. So what is going to happen now is that we will be having a meeting with the owner of that building who's not actually present at the place every day. He will be coming to our provincial offices in Limpopo, where we will be able to kind of like give him get more information around what really happened at his place, and as part of the investigation, be able to get some evidence from him as well.
Now, you're talking about this owner. He's, of course, denying all claims or allegations of racial discriminations. His view is that toilets are not open to members of the public. How is it viewed in law, and how is it then viewed by you?
Look, first of all, I mean, he denies, we heard in the media that he's basically denying, but our visit there, our inspection in loco, which is what we do in most of our cases to basically be able to verify some of the allegations, we basically found that some of those toilets, yes, indeed, have been allocated based on racial, on a racial basis. So this will form part of the investigation. He will be afforded a chance to basically put his views to us when we meet tomorrow, and we will be able to take it from there. Most of the things that he said, he told the media, he didn't really tell the Human Rights Commission, so we only read about it in the media. We also read about the fact that he's planning to take the journalist that wrote the story to court, which really is surprising to us as the Commission, because instead of shooting the messenger, he should really be
opening the toilets to everybody.
Yes, focusing all the resources and his time to basically dealing with the problem at hand instead of basically shooting at the messenger. So we'll be able to get some of those his views when we meet with him tomorrow and as part of the investigation.
In 2014, to still have segregated toilets like we've seen in our checkered apartheid past certainly is a little bit concerning. But I want to talk to you about the wider issue of racism in South Africa. Where are we as a nation? Every day we see pictures of road rage attacks with racial connotations. On Facebook yesterday, we saw a guy got knocked unconscious after using the K word. We have race scenarios playing out on the streets of South Africa every day. Where are we? Are we, and I hate saying this, but are we heading towards a race confrontation in South Africa?
Look, the case in Limpopo is really symptomatic of the bigger challenge that is facing us as a country. And you're right, the issues of racism are really coming out every day. And you know, we were dealing with Limpopo, and we thought maybe we will be able to deal with this. But as you rightfully said, there were incidences on Twitter, and also the road rage incident, which really tells us the fact that we really need to do something. As the Commission, we've always been on record condemning the issues of racism. We've conducted several investigations around issues of racism, especially recently in the Free State, which really says to us that we really have to hold hands, both black and whites, in our corners, ensure that we deal with the issue of racism. And from us as the Commission, through our provincial offices, this is what we do every day. And as a matter of fact, of all the complaints that we receive as the Commission, 80% of them are mostly around issues of race and equality, and which can give you an idea of what we are dealing with as a country. So
you're being inundated with race-related incidents in South Africa, and it seems as if this graft is on the up. Is it accurate?
No, that's true. That's true, and it's really worrying to us as the Commission. It's worrying to our chairperson, Advocate Mushwana, and that's why for this matter, it's for this reason that we have been talking to some of our stakeholders, including the Nelson Mandela Foundation, to basically try and come up with a dialogue where all races in the country can come on board and be honest about their feelings around issues of racial integration and to ensure that we take this project forward, because as you said, 20 years down the line, we're still dealing with the same issue. And we're hoping that when we conduct this dialogue, which we are looking at early December, to basically bring all these parties together so that we can be able to talk on these issues.
Are we all guilty of being somewhat racist in this country?
I cannot really answer yes or no on that one, but I mean, every person in their own way, there are incidences where we find that both blacks and whites have been involved in issues of racism. We've seen, especially on Twitter and Facebook, social media.
Social media is the platform for all bigots to hide behind anonymous profiles and spew the racist vitriol that really pays this negativity forward in a way that plays itself out in South Africa's roads and in South Africa's shops and so forth every day.
That's true. That's true, and
what about,
it's really worrying. It's really worrying too.
What about the Human Rights Commission putting together a racism TRC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where we can all come and talk about the issues that we have with race and the fears that it seems a lot of South Africans have around race?
Look, we have held some of those TRC, as you put it, around issues of racism. I remember one in 2010, and also even recently the chairperson had an equality roundtable in Soweto where we dealt with issues of racism and xenophobia and all those kinds. But as I was saying now, that we are looking at early December to basically put together a dialogue, a national dialogue around issues of racism, and we've got people the CEO has been busy talking to currently, including the Nelson Mandela Foundation, where we believe that bring every one of us together, talk honestly about issues that we feel, why we feel we shouldn't become, coexist, and many other issues that are underlying causes of racism in the country, so that we can be able to take this country forward. And I mean, there has been suggestions that, all white people are actually racist, and which is not really the case. And from our experience as the Commission, cases that we've actually dealt with is actually a fraction. A small fraction of those who are actually not buying into this project that we're trying to put as a country. I can give you an example of the case that we dealt with in the Free State, which was really in the media around the photos of Julius Malema, and
the monkeys and exactly, all of that. I mean, you get it online all the time.
Yes, the person who actually brought that case to the Human Rights Commission was a white father, whose children are actually going to school with those children, and who basically went back home and said, look, father, at school we're being treated differently from our black counterparts. Can we do something? And the father of those kids actually brought the case to the Human Rights Commission, which shows you that actually there are those who are actually buying into this.
We live in a wonderful country with lots of wonderful people who are every day going out there trying to make it work for all of us who have a sunny disposition and try and not be too negative. However, it is the minority, as always, that puts us in this racial conundrum that we have as a country. We can't seem to get past it. From the Human Rights Commission, the Head of Communications, Mr. Isaac Mangena, thank you very much for joining us today. That was a wonderful interview and a kind of conversation that we all need to have here in South Africa. And please don't paste bigoted views under a fake Facebook account and so forth. It does nothing for our country. It does nothing for you. Let's take a look at some of the real tweets coming out on our @SABC Newsroom feed right now. Winnie talks about, let us put politics aside and mourn with the first family, his wife, the First Lady of Zambia, Dr. Christine Kaseba Sata, and his children. Of course, there is a massive funeral set for today. Charles Tembo talks about Sata was a great leader with a vision for his country. Indeed so. Again, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Michael Chilufya Sata, July 6, 1937 to October 28, 2014. Go well, Mr. President. And then the ACU of Zambia says, pray for Zambia as we bury President Michael Sata today. May this nation turn to the Lord and seek his face in choosing the next leader. Let's take a look now what's on our Newsroom Facebook page today. Today you'll see there that the man arrested in connection with the murder of Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Miyiwa will be back in the Boksburg Magistrates Court today. Then the lawyers for families of non-striking miners who were killed during an unprotected strike in Marikana in 2012 will continue to submit their closing arguments at the Commission of Inquiry. We'll be live with Nozantombi Mia there shortly, and the United Nations chief Ban Ki-moon has condemned the suicide attempt on a government boarding school in northeastern Nigeria's Yobe state, in which now 49 children have been killed. You can find all of those stories and more, of course, on our Facebook page. SABC.co.za, that is where you can find all the new, of course, /news. That's where you can find all the latest updates. Time for us to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Well, hello and welcome back here with Newsroom on SABC News. Let's recap the top stories this morning. There is a strong police presence at the Boksburg Magistrates Court this morning ahead of the appearance of the man arrested in connection with the murder of Bafana Bafana captain Senzo Muyiwa. 25-year-old Zanukhuhle Mbata will make his second appearance since he was arrested late last month. He was arrested within a week after Muyiwa was shot and killed during a botched robbery in Vosloorus east of Johannesburg over 2 weeks ago. Police are still looking for a second suspect. COSATU will today announce whether it will reconsider the expulsion of its largest affiliate, trade union NUMSA. COSATU expelled NUMSA at the weekend, citing among others its refusal to support the ANC at the May general elections. The ANC described this move as tragic, indicating that it will continue to mediate with the aim of avoiding a split. On the other hand, 7 affiliates who support NUMSA have temporarily withdrawn from participating in executive structures of the federation and has also vowed to stop at nothing to ensure that NUMSA's expulsion is reversed. And United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has strongly condemned the suicide attack on a government boarding school in northeastern Nigeria's Yobe state. 49 people were killed and nearly 80 others wounded. Authorities say the death toll is expected to rise. No one has claimed responsibility for the attack in the town of Patiskum, where Boko Haram is believed to operate. Remember, all those top stories and more are available on Newsroom Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter at SABC Newsroom. Evan, over to you.
Thank you, Katrin. Now, 36 families of the deceased miners killed at Marikana in August of 2012 will deliver closing arguments before the Marikana Commission of Inquiry in Pretoria today. Advocate Dumisani Sebeza, instructed by the Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa, will argue on behalf of the families. It's been a long and painful journey for those families who've attended the commission for 2 years in order to find out the truth about what happened to their loved ones on that faithful day. They have come to a number of conclusions about what happened between the 13th and 16th of August 2012 and who bears responsibility for the massacre that took place on that day. Now, SABC reporter Nozantombi Mia has been on the story for most of that time, joins us live from Centurion. Very good morning to you, Nozantombi. A little bit wet there.
Very good morning to you, Evan. It has been quite a bit of a downpour for the better part of this morning and yesterday, but we'll certainly persevere.
A big day for the families, a long, arduous process. What do we expect from the closing arguments of Advocate Sebeza?
You're quite right. It certainly is a big day for the families, and their closing arguments will be one of the arguments that are closely watched, because they really are the true victims of the Marikana massacre, because it was their loved ones that were killed. It was breadwinners that were killed. We have wives that have suffered. We have children that have also suffered in terms of not having a father figure, in terms of having their financial resources cut off and having to rely on the state or lawmen for their education, for their financial well-being. So the families of the victims of the 39 or the 36 Marikana strikers that were killed by police, their final arguments certainly will be very closely watched, and we are anticipating a few critical points that will be made. Firstly, that the families deserve some form of compensation, either further compensation from lawmen or additional compensation from the state, and we are expecting that the families will identify who they believe is responsible for the events that led up to the 16th. You'll remember earlier this year the families had made representations in terms of telling us a little bit about their loved ones, and for the better part of the 34 families that made representations, they felt they blamed the police for what had happened in Marikana. So we're expecting that they will continue on from there, blaming the police, blaming lawmen, and perhaps the state for not doing the best that they could or intervening in a more timeous matter. But as the day progresses, we certainly will be able to hear what the key points of their arguments are.
Yeah. After 2 years of covering this story, Nozantombi, tell us your views. Do you believe the police have done enough to show that they've acted in
Well, certainly after 2 years of having covered the story, it's definitely tragic. You know, I can't really say that it's the police or it's lawmen. It was a culmination of different people acting in different ways, believing that the way they had behaved was justified for whatever means that they were hoping to get. And I certainly don't envy the judges in their final recommendation, because how do you satisfy different groups who feel that they were just in the way they behaved? So the recommendations to the president will be something that I will be keeping a very close eye on, because they have to keep a balance between what is fair, what is just, and making sure that the perpetrators of the crimes that led to the deaths of the 10 people before are held responsible and accountable, but also ensuring that the police you know how to deal in future with any sort of public protest, and that we don't see ourselves in another situation where police are using lethal ammunition. The fact that police used R5 rifles, which are lethal ammunition, is something that we should not be having in a democratic society. So certainly that is something that I think the police should never ever have done, because we saw with Marikana, we saw with Andries Tatane, and in our fledgling you know, Rainbow Nation, we should not be going through a situation where police are killing you know, innocent people, no matter how innocent the police feel that people are.
Ntombi Mia at the Farlam Commission of Inquiry. Thank you for joining us, Ntombi, giving us a little insight as to what will be a big day at the Farlam Commission. Of course, the families will make their final presentation to the Commission today. Finally, whether you are in a rural or urban area, one cannot ignore the fact that we've become highly dependent on electricity. However, sometimes things can go wrong, and you could find yourself left with a power failure like the scheduled load shedding we've all experienced in recent time. Now, Tsietse Monari is our resident meteorologist, weatherman, environmentalist, jack of all trades, master of none, they tell me. Tsietse, good morning.
Good morning, master of none, really?
No. Well, I always tell my mates, you know, Tsietse is the guy, he can always lie to the viewers and nothing happens. If I tell a lie on air, then I'm fired the next day.
But it's not a lie, it's just omission of some truths.
Oh, omission of some truths. I like that. But let's talk about electricity, because we've got 3 minutes or so. But what should one generally do during any sort of power failure, and what are the mistakes that we always make?
Okay, first of all, we cannot jump into conclusions that it is load shedding. You know, first, you need to look if maybe there's something wrong with your house. Check other houses and see if you're maybe not the only person having a power cut. Also, you can check your main box. We call it the main box, where all your plugs and your switches are. Check if maybe something hasn't tripped there, like your hoofgerecht or your main switch hasn't fallen off.
Or maybe just your road, the box in your road could maybe have been hit by a car sometimes.
Exactly. And then the next thing that you would do is either contact your local provider or your municipality and just find out.
Power failures sometimes, well, most of the time, or always, it's caused by high electricity demand. How do you, as the individual, how do you help reduce that high demand? What must we do?
Yeah, this comes to a lot of how we use electricity in our homes, in our workplaces, in the studios, all of the lights that are on, the cameras that are on. I mean, if you think about it, do we really need camera 3 on now if I am not on it? Do we really need the JIP on now if I'm not on it?
But we do, Paul.
Those are just some of the questions. If you look at some of the visuals that I've uploaded now, we can change from our old light bulbs into the new light bulbs that we have, the fluorescent ones, and, just because they don't use as much heat, or they do not lose energy from the heat that they
generate.
And also, you can switch off geysers when you're not at home, switch off the television, and actually plug it off. Not plug it off, just turn it off at the main plug on the wall. That will also save you electricity and save you money at the same time. When you're washing dishes, you can take them out and dry them with a cloth. At the same time, that can help you interact with whoever you are with in the house. Just instead of popping them in the washing machine or dishwasher, you can actually take them out and have a chat with somebody while you're wiping them off. If you iron clothes, do it in bulks, and so that you reduce the amount of heating that's needed. It actually takes a lot of electricity to get an iron hot, from startup. So if you do batch and you finish and you don't iron again for next 7 days or so.
You actually save a lot of power.
Yeah, you'll save a lot of power. Drink less coffee too.
Drink less coffee too?
Yeah, because you won't be boiling the kettle so much. Or just boil
yeah,
the
but
kettle
then people will be a
flask.
lot more unfriendly, Paul, because coffee makes us smile,
Yeah, well, I guess. Some people say that about cannabis makes you smile. We've been having these conversations.
We've been having a conversation, but
yeah.
Of course, only for medical purposes,
yes,
Paul.
No, certainly.
In my case, I suffer from gout, so I have to get the oil and put it on my foot.
Eat less meat. Yeah? That also saves, the environment from methane, because cows release methane, and if you don't have lots of cows, then we can also save meat. Save the planet and also save you from gout.
But Paul, we are in Africa, and you can't tell us to eat less meat.
Of course you can. Have meatless Mondays.
Meatless Mondays?
Yeah. That's it.
What? Okay. You've got me totally off the beaten track here, Paul. Just talk about the appliances that people should maybe think about not using and should manage a little bit better in the home.
Okay, television sets. Usually people play the television while they are in the bathroom or in other rooms. That's not necessary. Microwaves. Please do not cook big chunks of meat with microwaves because it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah.
Just pop it in the oven. That's less energy for you. And boiling water, don't boil it every single 5 minutes. Just boil.
Boil a big one once.
Yeah, big one once. Pour it in a flask. Keep it hot for a number of hours.
Okay.
Those kind of things. Yeah.
Okay, Paul. Thank you very much for joining us. Eat less meat.
Yeah.
Drink more cold water. Have less coffee. All these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Paul, it's a doomsday scenario for most of us. Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Tsietse Monare giving us his view on the world. And I can tell you what, it's a very popular view here at SABC News. Thank you once again for joining us. Tsietse, Paul Monare. Now, Newsroom is broadcast live from our studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg, every weekday morning between 9 and 10 a.m. The show repeats at 2 in the afternoon with a total rebroadcast at 5 a.m. the following morning. We're also streaming live on YouTube at that time, so you've got no excuse. You can watch us on demand at any time during a 24-hour cycle on our YouTube channel. This is SABC News. You've been watching Newsroom. We love it in the morning.